to WRPB and WRPB Studios. So you guys have been with me for years, most of you, and there's a couple of subjects that I really love. One of them is when people come in here and bring me food. So restaurants, interviews with them, amazing. I have a great time. But the other one is real estate, and I've been in real estate 35 years, just doing commercial real estate. And with me is Rich Voller.
It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Okay, and the name of your company?
It's Voller Commercial Real Estate.
Okay, so my first question is, how long have you been around the industry?
Well, I've been in the business for 43 years.
Okay.
I started out of college in 1980, and I've had my own company for 35 years.
Okay, why did you pick real estate?
It was an accident. I went to school to study marine biology. I wanted to be on Jacques Cousteau's ship.
Okay.
And I went 2 years of college at Old Dominion in Norfolk, and they said if you want to have a good career and make money, you have to get a PhD, which meant probably 6 more years of college, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
I don't blame it.
So I had taken an elective in real estate, and I liked it, so I switched over. The last 2 years I studied finance, got a degree in finance.
It's interesting because I've done 100 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I've been an optician, been
Wow.
an electronic technician. So I got into real estate. Again, it was just something to do. It was a 7-day course.
Mhm.
I took it 7 days in school, and then the Monday I took the boards in Jersey, and I passed. And I started to do residential real estate, and I would say 2 months into residential, I wanted to stick a pencil in my eye.
Yeah,
It was just not for me.
I don't do residential.
And then I met a kid whose dad owned a commercial company, and I started doing commercial.
Yeah.
Why don't you do residential?
It's a whole different line of work.
Right.
It's nothing bad or good.
No,
just totally
just different.
And I started out working with a big development company. I liked the commercial part of it, and I've always done commercial. At one point, I had a company with 3 offices, and we did have a residential component. I had a broker I hired to run that, but I don't really like it that much. I like the business to business sort of relationship.
I always said, because of who I am, I only want to work Monday to Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And in commercial, you work Monday to Friday. And if you're working Saturday or Sunday, you're on someone's yacht, you're
Yeah.
at someone's mansion,
Yeah.
okay? And most deals don't have a lot of finance issues.
Correct.
If you're dealing with Joe, who has a bagel store and wants to open up, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But if you're dealing with someone who's in the industry, has a hotel, or you're going to deal with it. Your biggest issues are your permitting or your permits of any kind.
Especially when you're developing, yeah.
Right.
Or opening something new, yeah.
What I didn't know is when I started, because I started in '86, and my broker gave me this guy, and he said, work with this guy. And the guy came in with a tatted sport jacket, and his shirt was dirty, and, we're now at '86. So he wanted a shopping center.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm showing him stuff, 400,000, 600,000, and he's not hooking on to any of that. So what do we do, especially new? We say, yeah, I'm not wasting my time. Well, 3 months later, my boss calls me in the office, opens up the Asbury Park Press, and there on the homepage is the same guy, same tattered clothes, just bought a $6 million center.
Yeah. Yeah, the looks, you can't go on the book by a cover rule in commercial real estate.
No.
I've met some wealthy guys that were brick masons, and they looked like homeless people, and they were worth millions and bought huge properties. So
Is there anything within the commercial venue that you prefer to sell or work with?
I mainly like investment sales because that's more interesting to me, to look at the rents and the operating costs, the relationship between the value, the cap rate, the income.
That was my favorite word,
Yeah.
to build a pro forma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pro forma. Well, cash flow is if you're going to really accelerate wealth in real estate,
Mhm.
the best way I've found is investing in commercial real estate, income producing, not land,
Right.
because then you get cash flow, depreciation, you get appreciation typically, and you're paying down principal if you have a loan. So the return stack of those 4 elements can be 20, 23, 25%, rather than just buying land and sitting on it. Well, you can make a fortune if you do it right. But I like the
But
income producing property the best.
If you're buying land, expect that it's going to take time to get approvals,
Mhm.
and then it's going to take time to do the improvements, and you're going to be having to carry this money.
Oh, yeah.
And again, you can make tons and tons of money, but if you're still going to lay out money, and it's a little more risky, in my opinion, than that 6-unit apartment building, 20-unit apartment building, hotel, strip center. Do you think that, when should somebody consider, or what position should someone be in before they consider investing into real estate as a business or to?
I think you can start. I've started with nothing. I told people, they said, how can you make $1 million? I said, yeah, I've started with zero and made $1 million several times. So you have to find a deal. If you don't have any money, you find a deal or a partner. You put a deal together and you stay in as a partner. Then you accelerate the value by upping the rents, typically. Then you refinance. That's the best way, or do a 1031 exchange. That way you're not paying tax on that, and you can move that up the ladder and eventually be your own investor without a partner, without finding deals for somebody else.
And it's interesting that you say that, because 95% of the realtors work on, and I hate to say it this way, the same level.
Mhm.
For me, I was taught a little bit different. I was taught I could sell you a 4-family house as a lease purchase, okay?
Mhm.
But most realtors won't do lease purchases because they think they're only going to get the lease price.
Yeah.
But we
Correct.
get the full. Because I just did 102 acres in Ashland City, Tennessee,
Mhm.
for $1.2 million, and we got our whole commission up front.
Mhm.
Okay, and it was a lease purchase.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Yeah.
Okay, so what you do then is you do that. You don't have to go for your bank loan. You don't have to go for any of that, and then you bring the rents up, or you get the property higher, and then you sell it. But you're not really selling it. You're really just flipping your contract.
Mhm. That's what you do.
A lot easier than, but most realtors don't understand that. And, when the real estate market came into play, every garbage man, bagel owner, cab driver got their real estate license.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay?
There's more attorneys and real estate agents than just about any other part of the population.
Now, you have been in for a while.
Yep.
So-
I have a broker's license in 2 states, Florida and Virginia, and have my own business for 35 years.
And you know that you've been through times where it's not how do I pay the bills, but what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Okay, because real estate is probably one of the most cyclical things you'll ever get into. Did you ever get to a point where you say, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm getting out?
No, I've always, it's kind of a frustrating thing for myself because I can't help it. I've always been I'm going to make it work somehow kind of guy. And every cycle, you have to learn how to pivot. So I know guys that just do the same thing no matter what's happening.
Right.
And if you're a sailor or a pilot, I'm a pilot, you can't just fly, or sail into the wind or with the wind at your back. You have to learn how to adjust your sails or pivot. So you might work on leasing in one cycle, you might work on selling in another cycle, you might work on retail in this cycle or warehouse in that cycle. But if you're going to be successful long term, you have to be nimble and flexible and always learning and always staying up with the latest things so you're ahead of the pack.
And I think you have to do that in every business.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm in the tech space here, and we're always like, we need to buy a different camera. We need to change lighting. You need to go with the punches,
Yeah.
otherwise you're going to just flatten out. Do you, there's so many pieces in real estate, and you mentioned a whole bunch. Do I work on retail? Do I work on leasing? Do I work on land? Do I work on industrial? You have a preference for you?
Well, as a broker, I prefer to do investment sales as a category, but then mainly industrial and retail. And I also own an apartment building, but I don't really do brokerage in apartments. But I think those categories, a lot of people can understand that. They've been to a store, they've been to an office, they've been to a warehouse. If you're getting into other some of them are much more complicated. But if you're investing in property or if you're a broker, those are the ones that I like to focus on the most.
So what's interesting is, because I hear everything, we're coming into this, or we're in this industrial warehouse flex space is like going through the roof now. The economy is what the economy is, and we can't change that, so we have to figure out how to get around that. Are you getting a lot of calls for flex space, office warehouse?
That's right now. It's the highest demand of the sectors, and that's because of all the people that are buying online and all the housing growth, especially in Florida, all the contractors that need an air conditioning company, a plumber, mechanic. That's pretty standard across all the cycles, but some it peaks and some it wanes a little bit. But definitely a fair child right now. Yeah.
Okay, so I call you up and say, hey, I have X dollars. I want to buy flex space,
Mhm.
2,000 square feet. What's the next step for you to me?
Well, first I would interview you and find out your long-term goals, short-term, long-term goals.
Be a millionaire, but okay, go ahead.
How much you have?
All right.
Are you qualified? Have you done this before? What's your tolerance for risk? Do you want a vacant building or do you want one that's fully rented? Then I go about searching on various databases. I'll do several searches. I'll do an email blast to brokers to send the listings to me. So we'll get a list of properties that match what you want to buy. Then we'll line them up. I'll research all those. I'll do a spreadsheet analysis of all those. And then I'll say, okay, Wayne, let's get in the car and go look at some of those. So you put your eyes on them. You've done the financial analysis, and those fit the location, the type, the risk tolerance that meets your criteria. It's a very individual thing.
Right. Well, you want to make sure that you're qualifying everybody before you drag them all over the
Oh, yeah,
place, because
yeah.
it's not like it used to be. Gas is a fortune,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
time.
My time, yeah.
Is I remember when I started in real estate and I started residential. The best thing was Tuesday was realtor open house,
Mhm.
and we picked them. Because we got an MLS
Yeah.
sheet, we pick them by the food that they were serving.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was like,
Yeah.
wow, this place is serving good food. We're gonna go there, but there was no, and I hate to say this, there's really no skill, or a lot less skill in selling a house. If the wife likes it, it's gonna sell. If it's in their price
Well, it's
range.
not really a business, and so what I do, like I said, I'll do the financial modeling because I have a degree in finance
Right.
and 43 years of experience. I'll look at all the elements of that financial side of that. It doesn't matter if you like the kitchen or the bathroom. It's not so much emotional. It's more of a business decision.
For you and your people.
And I look at the strength of the tenants. Are they financially sound? Are their markets below or above the market rate? I mean, are their rents above market or below market? And does the building have any deferred maintenance? So are you going to buy that and have to put a new roof on it? You're going to have to fill up a vacancy. The best opportunities are if the tenants are paying below market rent and you can renew their leases at a higher rent, that accelerates the value quickly. And that's what they always want upside potential. That's how
Right.
you do that.
Well, that leads me into the question that I wanted to ask is, because you want to do investment, but today investment is different because today there's a single family house. That's an investment property,
Yeah, right.
or can be an investment
Yep.
property. But it also can take a hit,
Mhm.
especially if it's just a single family house.
Yep.
Okay. What I found is interesting is that because the market is very cyclical, you have to buy, like always, at the right time, but you have to be ready to carry it through a bad time if that happens.
Yeah.
So when you meet with a client and you're qualifying them, I'm guessing you're letting them know, hey, this is where we're at today. Tomorrow can be different. Can you handle the risk?
It depends on where people are in their life cycle.
Mhm.
And I work with a lot of elderly people. I've developed a platform just for elderly people to sell or trade their complicated properties that might be more risky and do a 1031 exchange into something. It's called single tenant net lease properties. Like think of Dollar General, Burger King, Wendy's,
Mhm.
7-Eleven. Help them trade into that so they don't pay any tax. Then when they pass on, they leave that to their children who now inherit a Dollar General rather than a leaky building that's vacant and that might need refinancing. Much better for the kids. Then they can sell it at stepped up basis and pay no tax. So it's a three-step process. And then if you're my age or you're older, you're not taking that risk of the vacancy right now or the refinancing risk. You've got Dollar General on a 20-year lease, corporate guarantee. There's almost no risk in that. And
Okay.
that's what I help with, especially with the older people. If
Which
you're younger, more risk maybe.
Which leads me into nowadays, there's always a risk
Oh, yeah,
because you
yeah.
don't know what
Yeah.
company is going to go out of business.
Mhm.
It could be a Winn-Dixie, it could be a Target,
Oh yeah.
and these, when these leases were signed, it was like, we got it, we
Mm-hmm.
got a Target. Well, so many places, the banks are going out of business.
You don't know what's going to happen. So
Right.
many things have disrupted in various markets. Like we didn't have Uber 20 years ago.
Right.
Now the taxi cab business is disrupted. We didn't have Amazon 20 or 30 years ago. So all the retailers are out of business because you can buy it on Amazon. So you look for an Amazon-proof tenant, and one that's got, I think Warren Buffett said, when you're buying stock, go into 7-Eleven, and anything they sell in there, buy that stock. Shaving cream, deodorant, soda, whatever, things that staples that people buy. And so in real estate, the same thing. Like Dollar General is probably not going out of business. 7-Eleven, they're going to be around. If you get into, like, I wouldn't recommend buying a bank because they might be going out of business. So certain categories are less risky than others. And also, so much depends on your wealth. You have a lot of wealth. You're just starting. Your age, your tolerance for risk. Some people say roll the dice. Some people say I can't afford to lose $1. So really, it's a very individual process that we go through to help a client buy the right property.
So what I learned doing commercial real estate, and it sounds weird to a lot of people, but my clients that I deal with, I try to build a personal relationship with, because I'm going to have to be, or you're going to have to be, their psychologist
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
the beginning
Yeah.
and through the whole process and after the process. Because one is, if you sell somebody an office building, you're probably going to sell this person another building at some point.
Absolutely. Yep.
So you have to stay. I relate it back to bartenders who have to listen to everybody's story,
Yeah,
but they're coming back to buy more drinks.
absolutely.
Okay, so it's the same thing. They're coming, they buy a building, you sell them the right one, and you're there for them. You don't just ditch them off. They're coming back.
Absolutely. I'm dealing now with the children of my original clients. I have repeat clients. Most of my business is
This makes
referral.
you seem old.
Well, 43 years in the business, and I have, people that I helped buy a building to in 1988 or 90, and now their kids have the building, and they're coming to me for help to lease it or sell it or refinance. So
Besides banks, what are risky investments today?
well, I think anything that's trendy, like, vape shops. I don't know that. Remember Blockbuster Video? We used to have videos. We used to
I had
watch.
the first video store in Brooklyn before Blockbuster and Hollywood even came
Yeah.
out.
So there are certain categories that aren't here anymore. That we don't
Right.
even. I have LP records. My kids don't even know what those are. My kids do. My grandchildren. They've never heard of an LP.
We can digitize them.
Yeah. Well,
we do that now.
everything is now.
No, we
So-
can digitize people's vinyl.
Right. You
we
can
do
put it in
that.
a machine and
Yep.
put it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's certain categories you just have to look at, like pizza. Pizza's not going away.
Right.
There's certain things that are going to be here to stay through any upswing or any cycle, and try to focus on those sort of things that are almost guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed, but more guaranteed long term than anything that's trendy.
Restaurant.
Restaurants are a good investment because they put a lot of capital into building them. They're very unlikely to move. If I was going to buy a shopping center, I'd be great if there was a pizza guy in there, maybe a Chinese food restaurant, a burger. They put all that, the ovens and the hoods. They're not going to
Right,
move,
right,
and they're going to work really hard to pay the rent.
Do you have in your inventory? Do you have like restaurants for lease and stuff like that?
We have some for sale, and we have shopping centers that have restaurant space for lease.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think you're right, because people don't know how not to eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And pizza's a staple.
Right.
Okay. It's very rare that I've ever seen a pizza place go out of business.
Dental offices never close, pizza restaurants never close. Even some dry cleaners have, but they've been around for years too.
Yeah, I mean,
People
there's
still go to
certain
the dry
things that are
cleaner.
really, really safe.
Yep.
Okay. What's your best tip for somebody that has $50,000 of liquid cash?
Mhm. Well, I think you can still get a loan and leverage that. So that would buy you $200,000 property, maybe $150,000 property. That's kind of a small amount.
Right.
But I would say probably buy a duplex, a residential duplex. And if you're just starting out, if you're young, live in one side. One of the wealthiest guys I ever met started with that. He bought a duplex, lived in one side, rented the other side. The renter paid his mortgage. He went on to buy a 4-plex, a 12-plex. Then he bought a couple hundred-unit apartment building, became a multimillionaire. Started with nothing.
We're at the top of our time. How do people get you? You have a website?
Oh, my website is richvaller.com.
VAALER.
VAALER.com. It's the Norwegian name.
Okay.
It's richvaller.com. So it's RICHVAALER.com.
And a
That's
phone
a
number?
Norwegian name. And the office number is 772-266-9065.
When we get old, we have to read it.
I got to read it. I can't remember it in my head.
But you're blessed because you can see that.
I
If
can
that
read
was
it,
here,
yeah,
I would
yeah.
need my glasses on to see that.
Or I can give you my cell phone, 431-4513.
Is that a Virginia number?
It's a Virginia. I have an office in Virginia and an office here.
Do you spend time in Virginia?
I go back and forth. Yeah, once a month I'm up there.
What part of Virginia?
In Northern Virginia, in Leesburg, right outside of Washington, D.C., by Dulles Airport.
Yeah. Well,
Huge.
my daughter lives in D.C.
Yeah, huge area.
So, I mean, I know the area. And I know when we go up there, I forget where she takes me, but she takes me to these, I guess, this cottages and little houses that he brought into this property, and they were Civil War houses and stuff.
Well, Alexandria maybe. No?
Stevenson's Ridge.
I don't know that.
It was pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not much to do there,
Right.
but they bring you your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, and they have 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and I think 3 bedroom buildings. Old.
A lot of history there.
A lot of history there. Great, it's really cool. So we always end up spending one night there because they're in D.C., so it's easy for us to get home when my wife and I leave to come back down here.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we passed some of this other stuff, so we could just leave from here. We could just leave
Yeah.
from here. Any better investments in real estate?
No, I'll tell you why. If you have money in the stock market, it's liquid. That's the advantage. But you're only going to make 8 or 10%. If you own income-producing commercial real estate, I can show you how it's going to be better. By the cash flow you get, maybe 6-7% depreciation right off on your taxes. You get maybe 5-10% appreciation, and then you're paying down the principal. So you're building equity over time, far better than any. Now it's not liquid, so it depends again if you want liquidity or you want the best return.
I get it, and I tell people, they say, "Oh, I bought my house for $300,000, and now it's only worth $260." Give it 5 years.
Yeah, and it'll come back.
It'll
The other thing
pass that.
about commercial real estate is leverage. People don't maybe understand that, but you can put 25% down. You can put $100,000 down and buy a $400,000 property, or $250,000 and buy a $1 million property. You're getting the appreciation on the $1 million, not the $250,000.
Right.
If you put $250,000 in the stock market, you can just buy $250,000 of stock. So you get leverage. You get all these benefits from real estate.
I don't know. So for me, it was always, like people say, well, you're investing, why don't you put some in the stock market? I said, because I can't walk over to the stock and kiss it, where I can walk over to my building and I can kiss it. One more time, what's the website?
Okay, it's richvaaler.com, RICHVAALER.com.
Thank you
so much for having me.
Everybody, use a professional. If you don't use a professional, it's going to cost you 5 times more in money and 10 times more in frustration.
Absolutely.
Have a great day. We'll be right back.
All right, see you later. Thanks.